Good Wednesday to all. Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach. Today is the 20th day of the Omer. In Parashat Kedoshim, there are many mitzvot. Today we're going to focus on one. The Torah tells us that when we interact with others, there are times that we might get hurt. And the Torah warns, Lo tikom velo titor. You shall not take revenge. Velo titor. Titor comes from the word netiרה, something you guard. But in this context, it is telling us not to bear a grudge. Lo tikom velo titor. This is what we are told in the Torah. Now, you want an example? So we're going to turn to a statement in the Talmud. It's quoted by Rashi. And the Talmud shares with us the following. Eize nekima. What exactly? Present for me, please, ask the Talmudic scholars. Please present a scenario of revenge, of vengeance. So the Talmud tells us the following. You should know, Amar lo, if a person says to his neighbor, do me a favor. I need to borrow your sickle. And he says, no, absolutely not. I am not giving you the sickle. Okay, today maybe we'll apply it to a vacuum cleaner. I turn to my neighbor and I say, can I please have the vacuum cleaner? And he says, no. The next day he knocks on my door. And in the Talmud it talks about an axe, but we're going to go ahead and apply it to a toaster oven. So that neighbor who yesterday was not willing to give me his vacuum cleaner for 20 minutes, knocks on my door and asks for the toaster oven. And I say to him, absolutely not. And he says, no. And in the words of the Talmud, למחר, the next day, the fellow knocks on my door and he says to me, השאילני קרדומך, can I please borrow your axe? And you say, no. That is an example of nekaima, vengeance. Fine. Then the Talmud asks the question, what is an example of netiרה? What is an example of holding a grudge? If the next day, when he knocks on my door, I say to him, you know what? You could have the toaster. I am not like you. In other words, you are expressing with words that you still hold that feeling in your heart that yesterday he did not allow me to use his vacuum cleaner. That is bearing a grudge. That is netiרה, lo titor. Okay, statement in the Talmud, we can apply it to our life. But I'm going to ask the following question. When the Talmud shares with us a scenario, quoted by Rashi on Chumash, why in both examples it tells us למחר, the next day? In other words, the example presented is that on Sunday I will not let him use my vacuum cleaner, and Monday the response is that he's not allowing me to use the toaster oven. Why does the Talmud spell out למחר? Okay, so I would like to suggest the following. You know, there are times that people hurt others, sometimes unintentionally, sometimes unfortunately with intention, and that's a terrible thing. And we as humans have emotions. We remember things, sometimes a day later, sometimes a week later, sometimes, unfortunately, years later. Now, not in all scenarios do I have to forgive. Why? There are times that I can't forgive, right? And the idea that I do not have the ability to immediately just ignore can be proven from a statement of the Sefer HaChinuch. The Sefer HaChinuch talks about a mitzvah. The mitzvah, this appears later in the Torah, Parashat Bahar. There is something known as ona'at dvarim, verbal affliction. You are not supposed to hurt someone with words. Now, the book of Chinuch, a very old text from centuries ago, notes that don't think that Judaism is telling us that if a person starts insulting me, I simply have to take anything. In other words, the Chinuch is telling us, yes, it is wrong to hurt or to say harsh words, but don't think, and in his words, en b'mashma, the Torah is not telling us that if another person started to litzaer chavero, to cause him pain with words, Don't think that the Torah wants us to be like an even she'en la hofchim. Don't think you have to act like a stone. You are allowed to respond. You're allowed to defend yourself. In other words, there's an understanding that if harsh words were said, you cannot expect me to just ignore it. Now, usually, with time, things are cured. That's how it works. In other words, when someone hurt my feeling, immediately it's extremely painful. A few hours later, it's less. Eventually, I could go ahead and accept that person. There was a great French philosopher by the name of Vladimir Jankelevich, and he noted that you should know that what people say that you could forgive after time, that's not really amnesty. That's more of an amnesia. That's how he presented it. For us Jews, we know that Torah was given to humans. As humans, at times it is hard to forgive. With time, it becomes easier. Since it becomes easier with time, that's the appropriate time to forgive. There is no expectation that I forgive immediately, but after time it's possible. Now, obviously it will depend on the level of affliction or the level of what was done towards me. If it was extremely harsh, it could take months, maybe years. If it was less, perhaps a day later. Now, with that, we could understand very well what the Torah is telling us and what the rabbis are telling us. That yes, you are not allowed to take vengeance, and you're not allowed to bear a grudge. But sometimes you need until tomorrow, and therefore in both scenarios in the Talmud tells us that למחר, to the next day, if you go ahead and bear a grudge, when you already had the ability to talk to yourself, you had the ability to move on, and you want to stick to principle, I'm not going to be like you. If your emotions are cured, you are expected to act in that way. And therefore the Talmud presents scenarios. The next day, you want to go ahead and bear a grudge when you already had the ability to forgive, that is considered wrong. And every person is different. Every scenario is different. There are times that it could take years based on my emotions to forgive someone. And Torah was given to humans. There is no expectations that you act like an angel. That's what the chinuch tells us. There is no expectation that I have to be forgiving to everything. Not true. There are situations where emotionally I still retain the pain. However, when that subsides, when that is gone, then, and that is the proper time to forgive. This is what we are being told in the Torah. The Torah is an incredible guide, but it is a guide that was given to people. And there are times that it is difficult to forgive, and we have to accept ourselves. There are things that are simply that were done to me that I cannot forgive years later. When I have the ability to forgive, that is the right time to forgive. This is what we are being told, and that's the proper way to read these very powerful and meaningful teachings of the Torah. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.